Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Whoa. Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I was watching our intro end and then I just saw our faces, so it really caught me off guard there.
Well, I think I also got you because I was still texting and I looked up real quick, oh man, we're here.
You do the quick turn head,
yeah.
Hello. Is that you're gonna add that to your intro now, where it's just
that should be the new
head turn? Model look. Yeah, there you go. What's up, boys? What's up, Mudcat? What's up, Brian?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good. I just snoozed for like a half hour.
Ooh, those are nice.
I have some news.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy.
Blink 182 is getting back together. I'm very excited, but I'm not excited that they're only coming to the Q because the Q sucks to go to.
They're doing the assisted living tour?
Dude, their main guy has cancer, and
I guess I did hear that little while back.
Yeah, he might be in remission or something now.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but the other guy, I guess, stopped chasing aliens enough for him to get back.
How old are they?
What's that?
40s? How old are they? 40s?
Probably old 40s.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
What did
rough.
the one dude return? The one that believes in aliens?
Yep. Did you just miss it? I just said that.
Oh, that's the guy though? I didn't know if that was the
Tom
one.
DeLonge.
So he came back. He went on his journey, met a couple of aliens.
Yeah, I think he
New
might have even
album's
had
coming out too, right?
Yes, they just kind of put out a song called Edging.
Oh, interesting.
Well, their
Are you
whole
sure
thing
that's what it's called?
I'm positive. Their whole
influenced by the New York Giants sideline. They came out with a song called Edging.
Their entire announcement that they were returning was a bunch of people just going, "Oh, they're coming. Oh, all three of them are coming. Oh, they're all coming." Man. And they just did that over and over again. It was these old ladies in a nursing home saying that and stuff.
Oh, was it actually? That's great.
Yeah, it was.
In other news, we're getting to the near end of Game of Thrones House of Dragon, Brian. I don't know if you watch it, Mudcat. You don't you? Do you?
No, here I'm a non-HBO subscriber until there's something I really want to binge, and then I'll hook up for the short term. So I gotta wait for
but
the
you
binge.
Watched all the regular series before.
Yep. I binged that too usually I would do it after a couple seasons, which I know sounds crazy, but
no, I like binging too. I think it sometimes is a easier way to take the story in, but it's different. It's a whole different viewing experience.
Yep. It's a minor change of pace for a second, but Blacklist was getting new episodes last fall, and I've always loved Blacklist. And after 2 episodes on TV, I'm I'm not doing this. I'm just waiting until the whole season's on Netflix, and then I'm going to do this or wherever
spoiled.
It is.
Yeah. I've always wondered why isn't there plans available on Apple TV, on Netflix, where they're if you want to enjoy all these episodes, you have to pay for the year in advance.
Ahead of or whatever. Okay.
Please let me.
But I just think at some point they're going to put whole seasons out of it. Netflix already does that a lot, obviously.
It's been pulled back.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Everything's been pulling back. It seems like we were getting there, and then it was Disney started pulling it back.
That's because when COVID hit, the government was oh my God, people are going to riot. Quick, release every episode of everything you have.
Bluey drops 50 episodes at a time. Bluey doesn't play around.
That's all one episode.
Yeah, that's
They're all
Sorry,
7-minute
back to your
episodes.
House of Dragons. I messed you up there.
No, well, I mean, I'm excited for it. It came to my mind right now. I knew we had a little intro here. And I saw Eric Moody, guest of our podcast on our Big Dad Bod show. He's currently watching it. He'll tweet about it. For the first time he's watching it, and it looks like he said it was like season 2. He's like, I'm on season 2, episode 8, and this guy is the worst person ever. Or something. It was a picture of Joffrey. And like every time you're watching somebody, like especially him live tweeting his like thoughts on this, it's not like consistent, but like occasionally, it's like, man, dude, there's so much in store.
Yeah, you know what's coming for him. Yeah.
Yes.
That is
Brian's thinking in his head, he's like, yes, there's also so much disappointment.
There is.
I have not watched this. My wife
either.
does. Have you?
I have
Brian?
watched it.
You like it?
Season 1 was great. Season 2 wasn't bad. It was good.
Okay.
It's worth watching.
Have you guys Jeffrey Dahmered it yet?
I started, but I haven't all of it.
I started last night.
So it's like the second most grossing show for Netflix or American show.
I'm surprised because Lauren is normally all in on true crime stuff. Like that is her go-to. That and reality TV smut.
Yeah, this should be like
Evan Peters.
This should be something she's been waiting for years. Like this should be her epitome.
I'm sure she'll watch it sometime. Probably when a new baby comes along.
The Dahmer show made me want pork chops. Sick. You're sick.
Depraved.
All right, boys. Let's go over some of these injuries because we got quite a bit, and then we're going to get into some games. Injuries kind of racking up. We're at week 6 now, coming up on week 6. Starting with the first one, James Conner. I think he was said day to day, right, boys? Eno Benjamin becomes an interesting, maybe even plug.
Cliff has even said that should Connor not play, they will not hesitate to give Eno the full load.
Oh, shoot. I actually think he might be like it's going against Seattle, and Seattle's given up a ton of rushing yards to opposing. Like the opposing defense or for running backs is really nice. So he might be a plug this week, a flex spot.
It also sounds like they're already going to rule Darrell Williams out.
He actually is ruled out already.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that clears the way. Because, that's the thing is Darrell was the immediate answer, obviously.
The only thing is that rib injuries are something that a lot of players play through. So
I think James Conner's playing.
Yeah.
We've been seeing it. Alvin Kamara struggled. Justin Herbert, performance-wise, struggled. Yeah. Like it depends. It could vary.
For a player like James Conner that struggles performance-wise as it is, what does that look like?
True.
Let's come back to that and maybe or like on Twitter or something. Like if James Conner gets ruled in, I'm still considering plugging in Eno in a lineup.
That's interesting. I wouldn't trust it.
That running game hasn't been strong enough for me.
I know, but Alvin Kamara didn't play much when he had his injuries with his ribs. Yeah. Would you guys start Devonta Smith over Waddle this week?
No.
I think I would.
Are we staring at? I mean, what's our latest news on?
It's Skylar.
It's Skylar. That's kind of what I thought.
Skylar.
Yeah.
I'm going Devonta.
I think I'm going to make this muddy, but I think it's Waddle for me. But like, I have legit concerns, so I think Devonta is a perfectly fine detour.
Devonta is I always wonder, is it Devonta or Devonta? It is a anyways. He's a up and down player with Hurts. We were talking about
and
this
with AJ Brown there especially.
Yeah, we were talking about this week. Like it's hard to predict week in, week out him being consistent, but the boom weeks are nice. I think you go Devonta here.
Do you think all things like take the whole Waddle thing out? I mean, is he still at this point kind of flex category, wide receiver 3 area, or do you think he's higher than that? Devonta Smith.
I think he absolutely finishes higher than that.
Yeah. It's just a rocky road at times.
Yeah. I think he finishes as a wide receiver.
He'll be the opposite of Brandon Cooks. Not Brandon Cooks this year, but Brandon Cooks for the last 5 years. Like Brandon Cooks is getting you 13 points. That's every week. That's what he's getting you. And Devonta's the opposite.
Yeah. he's very much like this year's Mike Williams.
Yeah, I can see that.
Where he'll have some big games, and he's got a higher floor than what Mike Williams did last year, in my mind.
I think you go Waddle because Mostert might not play this week, so they're not really going to have a running game. They're going to be forced to pass it. They're going against the Vikings, who put up points. They're going to throw the ball. They're throwing it to Waddle and Hill.
Just a one where we sort of missed. I mean, we kind of got on it late. They just hate Chase Edmonds. So I agree. Like, if Mostert's out, they just are going to try not to run the ball. They hate Chase Edmonds with every bit of their soul.
I don't think they hate him. I think they just don't really trust him.
Same thing. Kyle Pitts returned to practice. He's expected to play this week. He had a hamstring injury last week. They face San Francisco. Rashad Bateman, foot injury.
Real quick, would you trade Kyle Pitts away if it were you, Mario?
I think I would.
Would you?
Yeah,
what would you be looking for in turn?
George Kittle.
Oh, I like that one. I think that's a good trade, actually.
So
we made that trade like 6 hours ago.
We did. And like, I want to say, like, I don't know if I normally make that trade. I just somehow hated Kyle Pitts into the year. He started off slow, ended up overexposing myself from a lot of buy low offers. So now I'm looking at 5 different teams with Kyle Pitts, and I'm like, I got to get some of this exposure down, or else I'm going to be miserable.
I don't hate that.
I don't know if I make that trade straight up normally, but I needed to get some of the exposure down for myself. And hamstring injuries always scare me a little bit.
Yeah,
Rashad Bateman, foot injury. He did practice today. I don't know if it was limited. I missed that. Keep an eye on this. Obviously, like, I think this has implications if you want to get crazy and flex Duvernay. Didn't do bad last week. Could have been better. Something minor, anything from you boys on that one?
Did you just say flex Duvernay when talking about T. Higgins and the Bengals? Did you mean Tyler Boyd?
Rashad Bateman?
Brian clearly zoned out.
Dude, where are we talking? I thought I skipped one. Whoops. My bad.
So the next one, T. Higgins, ankle issue, limited practice today. Man, he painfully made fantasy owners pay last week.
He did not practice today either.
I thought I saw limited.
It says, after all, T. Higgins sits out practice is the latest I'm seeing from 4 hours ago.
I will say this, though, for T, it was one of those deals where, like, after week 1, I was a little worried. He's been great. Outside of getting injured, he's been pretty great basically in 4 games.
CBS said an earlier report said he would return to practice.
Yeah,
but it didn't actually happen.
This is one of those
concerning.
It is. And I'm looking at Boyd right now in a lot of my leagues, and I think you have to pick him up, and I think he might be a nice little flex spot.
I think it's someone else that needs to keep being in lineups.
Hayden Hurst.
He's been really, really good. I'm going to butcher this mildly, but I think I was looking at it, and I think he's had either 5 catches or a touchdown in all but 1 game. He's been really good. I mean, when I say really good, startable. I'm not talking like top 3 tight end.
Look, man, in this economy, in the tight end economy,
I'm starting really 2 places this week, and
Cody,
I don't feel bad about
September 25th against the Jets, he had 1 catch for 7 yards, no touchdown. But the last 2 weeks, yes.
What I said was 5 catches or a touchdown in all but 1 week. Is that true or false?
Okay. Well, no, I don't know. I can only see the last 3 weeks.
Okay. And I did say I might have
just
woke
He's at 5 catches, 1, 3, 6. And the
did
3
the 3
he
have
had
a touchdown?
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Last 2 weeks, he's definitely trending up, especially with 6 catches last week. Highest yards, highest catches for this season. 2 touchdowns.
The yards haven't been great overall, but
but 50 yards for a tight end, you're loving that.
5 catches and 50. I mean, it's the classic 10 points you want to talk about,
Dude.
But this year you're taking it at a tight end.
We were just talking about Zach Ertz the other day. Like, he's gotten me 10 to 15 points a week, and I am so thrilled with that.
Mm-hmm.
Never again. I will always have Mark Andrews on my teams until the next elite one comes up, and then I'll keep going. Kelsey's fine, but I'm going to go with the younger buck with Mark Andrews for the next 5 years. Russell Wilson throwing shoulder injury, playing through. He'll likely play this week, but it could mess with your Cortland Sutton, your Jerry Jeudy shares if those aren't already getting crapped on.
Messed up.
Well, Sutton's been fine, but yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, ankle issue. He did not, I think it's ankle sprain, did not practice today. Hines, I think, limited practice, and he's in the concussion protocol. So are we going to try to run this back with Hines this week?
Hines, I think you mean Deion Jackson.
You could.
Wow.
Either is fine. What do you think?
Hines played or practiced in a non-contact jersey.
Here,
he's on
I
concussion
think
protocol.
I think you probably have to start a starting running back. You know, it's one of those deals. So I guess yes. But this Colts offense has just been bad. Like Jonathan Taylor was really bad. And so if Jonathan Taylor was bad, I don't exactly trust Hines.
So
but
I like Mario might laugh. I think Deion Jackson is the guy here if Jonathan Taylor's out. I don't think they go with Hines. Deion Jackson's way bigger. He had a great week last week. I just picked him up in our dynasty league. I'm actually starting him this week because I have literally no other options. It's either him or Khalil Herbert, and we saw how that went last week. I think Deion Jackson has a better chance than Khalil Herbert to get some work, but that's very deep leagues.
I think you bring up a great point, Brian. I think, unfortunately, what this becomes is it did seem like Hines was going to get more carries than he probably has had in a single game last week. That's what it started off looking like. He got the first carry, got the first catch. But now that Deion Jackson looked well, played well, this is going to be something like first and second down, Deion Jackson, Hines comes in on third, and you really might just burn yourself playing either of them.
it might just be old Hines.
It might be old Reich.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, do you
used
think
to do this?
I mean, I think Frank Wright is going to get fired soon.
He might.
I think whoever is calling plays there, and I don't know who it is, should be gone.
Darren Waller, hamstring injury. I believe Foster Moreau went out in this game as well. This just to me bumps up Josh Jacobs, bumps up Devontae, God bless it. And even Hunter Renfrow a little bit, but like I don't think Waller's going to end up playing this week. Keenan Allen,
feel that way too. Those
okay.
And I feel like tight ends, for whatever reason, I feel like those soft tissues just seem to be a problem for them. So sometimes even more so. And you wouldn't think because they're not the speedsters, but it just always seems like they miss with soft tissue stuff.
And I think if Waller sits, I think Moreau is a decent tight end play. Like I'd play him over Gesicki. I'd play him over. Huh?
How hurt is he?
He expected to play last week, and he was a game time decision scratch.
Okay. So I was wrong about him going out.
If he plays.
Raiders are on a bye this week.
He wasn't even on the injury report. Oh,
thank you, Albert.
Great call. So anyway, if Waller does miss time after the bye, like we were saying, Moreau might be a pretty good spot fill, especially with how bad tight ends have been all week.
He could. And like I do worry about Darren Waller in general, though, from this. He was in this game, he had his hoodie on, ruled out early. And that to me is like, it's
fairly significant then. Yeah.
It seems that way, right? Like I don't,
especially in a game that you're, and I guess they were maybe up when it happened pretty significantly, but obviously it's a big game. It's a divisional game. Like this isn't the Jets.
And this is what he dealt with preseason. He had a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the same one. Keenan Allen hamstring. I saw a report that said the Chargers are expecting him back this week.
I don't buy it.
We'll see. Brian has here. He did individual drills today. No more Josh Palmer plugs, Brian. We're done.
I'm done. Yeah. It's been rough. I mean, but Herbert's been hurt. No, but yeah, I'm out on Josh Palmer too. I don't have a flex anymore.
You're going blank instead of Josh Palmer hurting.
Yeah, no, I'm throwing Jacoby Myers out there.
That's perfectly fine. He was nice.
Damian Harris, hamstring issue.
This is a weird one.
This is weird because all this time we're hearing like he's probably going to be out till after the bye. And
the initial reports were very bad.
He was limited today.
He was limited today.
Yeah, it was. It like I saw one thing that I forget if it said like expected multiple weeks or some verbiage like that.
Yeah,
like it was significant, and then all of a sudden he's at practice on.
Well, I feel like Bill does this more than anybody, where he pretty much lies on the injury reports day in,
Well,
day out.
and the fact that he was a limited participant, I'd like to know what that means, because there was also like the next week
was
after
doing,
Mac Jones got hurt, there was the, like, oh, he might play, and like here we are, what, 3 weeks later, like.
Dude, I seriously, that's a good point. Bill thinks he's playing chess, and he likes to get his opponents game planning for the guys that aren't even going to be in. But I think
Damian Harris was playing retro bowl on the sidelines today.
He was doing thumb exercises.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas, his foot injury, did not practice again this week. Jahan Dotson is already ruled out, Brian.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, hamstring.
That one. That's like
quick.
2 or 3 weeks in a row now, right?
Well, they play Thursday.
Oh, they play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, that does make sense.
Chris Olave is in the concussion protocol. Pat Freiermuth in the concussion protocol. And Tua, I think, is already ruled out of this game, but he was practicing. I think he was.
Yeah, he started throwing today, but they pretty much have made it clear that he's not going to play this week. I think it's more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're just trying to, like they would play
PR.
him.
PR move.
Exactly. They would play him if they could, but because of
what
the
had
whole PR
happened,
thing.
yeah.
I kind of think that too, which is terrible. Let's jump into the game preview. We got Thursday Night Football as the Commanders versus the Bears. This over-under, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have it right in front of me, I think is like 39. It's crazy. I'm going to get the spreads open while you guys talk about this a little bit. So Brian mentioned something today. We're going to start off with Washington, by the way. Terry McLaurin. Brian asked, is Terry McLaurin not that good? Brian, give your thoughts and elaborate on that a little
I don't
bit
mean not that good. I mean, is he having competition for targets for the first time ever? And he's not as good as we thought he was when he was getting 100% of the targets. Mario, I threw the over-under in there.
Nice.
Which is 37.5, which I feel like is too high for this game.
I kind of think so
pretty high.
too.
But yeah, McLaurin, I mean,
2017 though.
Dotson had a really good first 2 weeks before he got injured. Curtis Samuel's eating targets as well. I don't think McLaurin's put up over 15 points yet this year, unless you're in PPR with some kind of bonuses. So like, I mean, he's also in old, like you guys probably think he's young. He's 27. So like if you're in Dynasty, like I'm waiting for a blow up game and I'm trying to ship him off. Mm-hmm. And if I'm in, a redraft league, I'm also trying to ship him off.
What do you think you can get for T-Mac right now?
In Dynasty or
Johnson?
Redraft.
Oh, in redraft?
Yeah.
I think
Deontay Johnson?
Would you take Deontay over T-Mac rest of the season?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No.
Interesting. I think Deontay's going through his rough patch of the season and is only going to get better.
Here's the one thing encouraging with Deontay, to see Pickett throw for over 300 yards. Like the offense at least moved, which is weird for the Steelers this year.
Also true.
That part is encouraging.
And he's a PPR guy.
So like you guys are hating on T-Mac, and as an owner of him, it really hasn't been as bad as like his wide receiver.
Yeah, I also own him in, I think, 2 leagues. And I think it's been rough.
13.
I own him and Michael Pittman in the same league. Try to take that.
So this is PPR. 13.8, 12.2, 17.2. Here's the stinker. 3.5, then 12.6. Brian promised us he's okay with 10 plus.
Yes, I am for my flex, as I've mentioned 1,000 times.
Yeah, you probably didn't draft T-Mac for your flex, but
so is T-Mac, that's a good spot. Is T-Mac, is he flex?
He's flex.
Is that where he's at?
He's flex right now.
I don't think he's any lower than that.
I don't either. I think he's got a name to get you more value than a flex would too if you're trading him.
I think he could. I really do. Yeah. I think he's a good guy to pair up with. I don't know. You package him up with something, kind of do the wide receiver running back.
Antonio Gibson, and
by the way, Antonio Gibson is untradeable. I've tried for 3 weeks.
He is. He really is.
Everyone hates Antonio Gibson.
This is okay. So let's get into that. The Antonio Gibson versus Brian Robinson thing. Like, let's talk about that backfield and what we're expecting moving forward. But before we get there, let's talk about how early victory laps can burn everyone in the world. Like this whole group, and I think Brian was a little bit in on Antonio Gibson. We're like, I don't know if I want any Antonio Gibson. First week comes out, Twitter explodes. Like, this is why Antonio Gibson was the best value. I don't know, guys. We're at week didn't live long at all.
Guys, I feel like we already talked about this like 4 weeks ago when Brian Robinson was shot, and we said Antonio Gibson is just the fantasy cockroach. Like he just survives and continues to put up numbers.
So I don't want to say this on air, but I've been thinking this a lot.
And now he's going to say it on there.
Did Antonio Gibson have something to do with this, bro?
No, stop.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's messed up. But anyway, can both these guys be fantasy relevant?
No, I don't think either of them can be.
Close.
So you think they'll both hurt each other?
Well, I think Antonio. Here's the hard part: Antonio Gibson isn't fantasy relevant now. So how can a guy sharing that backfield really make it better?
You know what's interesting is that one, he's still kind of putting up points, and two,
Antonio Gibson,
kind of.
I feel like he got me like 5 last week.
I don't know about last week. But what's interesting is that as soon as Brian Robinson's like back on the practice field,
6.9,
all the reports are coming out again. Antonio Gibson's going to be returning kicks. Antonio Gibson's going to be returning kicks.
Oh yeah, they start just flooding.
And those were the reports that had everybody freaking out before the season.
I do think Brian Robinson has a shot to steal all of this.
Yeah,
I do.
Antonio Gibson's been an RB2. That's why I said he's not been terrible.
Yeah,
last 2 weeks
RB2. That's good. Last 2 weeks, it's 6.9, 9.3.
Well, like, you drafted him to be your RB2.
Yeah, but it's just it's this is not RB2 numbers anymore though. He's being carried by his 20-point week 1 finish.
Yes.
So give us all of them. Give us all.
Running backs have been so bad this
20,
year.
12, 11, 9.3, 6.9, just continuously going down.
So he's the Terry McLaurin of running backs.
See, the hard part
Terry McLaurin's is staying the same.
Here's the hard part. There's 1 RB1 week, 3 RB3 weeks, and a bench dweller. I don't know what that averages out to, but it isn't
RB21.
It technically does average out to RB21, but that's like if you exclude week 1, which you can't, but if you just look through weeks 2 through 5, it's RB3 for sure. Yeah, I think Brian Robinson could steal this. I think Ron Rivera has a sweet spot for Brian Robinson, so I'm really interested to see it. But like, you probably didn't spend the draft capital on it, and if he's just stashing on your bench, he could be a nice stash.
I think Ron Rivera has
the
a
league I
spot
have
for Antonio Gibson.
I agree.
The league that I have Antonio Gibson was an auction, and it was one of those deals where like he just went too cheap, and I'm always the guy that buys those players. I paid $6 for Antonio Gibson,
and you loved it.
I loved it then. Now I want my $6 back.
Oh, shut up. He got you $6 worth of work. So
let's go. Okay.
Hold on. We didn't even really talk about Brian Robinson though. So you guys just aren't trusting him at all. I assume you need to see it, but like, say you have waivers, super late waivers that clear tomorrow, and he's available. How much are you spending on?
I think you stash him. Absolutely. He should be owned in every league.
I didn't say stash. I said, how much of your free agency money are you spending?
Yeah, I think he's probably a 20%-ish player. Maybe less.
I would probably go 20 to 30.
I'm thinking 50.
Whoa.
Running backs have been terrible. This is a guy who has a chance to come in and steal the backfield on a team that isn't bad at running the ball. And Antonio Gibson, you know how they've been talking about putting him out at wideout? I watched some bad drops last week.
Well, for this week's sake, we're going to go against the Chicago defense, which has been pretty solid overall. I am nervous to start Terry McLaurin, but seeing what I'm seeing about T. Higgins, I am forced to. I have a feeling this offense struggles a lot this week. Just wanted to add that. Flip over to Chicago. Brian has Montgomery versus Herbert. So for this game, who's going to be Herbert? Seems back to irrelevancy.
Cody put that in, not me. But
I did.
I didn't. This has been a Bears thing. Dating back to last season, I guess, because I can't think back any longer. Basically, anytime Montgomery's healthy, he's playing and he's getting 85% of the carries. So I don't know why I was shocked last week when I played Khalil Herbert. And
it felt different.
Yeah. And it's so silly.
Where I'll give you guys credit, and I didn't get on this bandwagon, but Herbert, with opportunity, has continued to play great. And I've been in the camp of I just don't think he looks like a good player, but he's producing. So
it's weird that he doesn't get that much work, but I am back in on Montgomery at this point. Like Brian just mentioned it, the running backs are weak. Like I would take Montgomery right now, and especially in this matchup where I think it's going to be Thursday night. He's going to be running a ton. I think Montgomery's a good play this week.
It's interesting because all the highlights for this game are all Khalil Herbert. There's no Justin Fields, so there might be like one rushing touchdown. There's no Darnell Mooney. It's like 4 Khalil Herbert plays from the season that they're airing for Thursday night football.
I see we have. Go ahead, Cody.
I'm just gonna add one more thing on Montgomery. Like, I know he had the yards, but it was all through the air. He had 20 yards rushing.
No, and that's fine though. I think this is going to be a consistent thing.
Yeah,
and I do think he's going to get a lot more rushing work this week. But I believe like the way that this offense is running now, he seems to be involved in the passing game a lot, kind of like Lenny. How you guys love Lenny?
Yeah.
So
he does. Yeah.
The last guy I want to talk about in this game is Darnell Mooney, and especially in like dynasty leagues, I think this is an ultimate buy low right now. Like you are buying at the seller.
I mean, honestly, you can probably buy for like, what's he cost in a dynasty? I mean, it sounds gross, but is it a
third rounder?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I got denied, which I understand. I think a second is the correct value. And I think if an owner has Mooney, they're not going to sell for less than a second. You don't want to pay more than a second. You don't even want to pay a second because of how bad it's been. But like the Bears can't stay this bad. And Mooney is a good player, whether you guys like it or not. The last thing I just showed you, you guys, the highest percentage of like missed opportunities on throws due to bad quarterback throws. Number 1 is Kyle Pitts at 35% of his throws are off target. Second is Darnell Mooney at 30%. Like
neither of those are shocking.
Yeah. And so that just tells me that there's got to be good times ahead, at least for Pitts, who will probably have a new quarterback in the next 3 weeks.
I hope so. God.
But like
I'm glad that's how you phrased the Darnell Mooney conversation, because I was sick. I'm sick of talking about him in redraft right now because I think he's droppable. Go ahead, Cody.
I think he's droppable too. I think he's droppable in redraft too. I mean, it's been mildly better the last 2 weeks. Maybe he was droppable and you should maybe roster him again, I suppose. Maybe we're at the point where he's not droppable now, but he was droppable, a week, 2 weeks ago. But it's been really, really bad.
He has talent. Like he absolutely does. But like 1.8, 0.6, 4.3, 13.4, 7.2. So past 2 weeks been okay. But the targets haven't crazily.
Will the Bears turn him into dust like they did Allen Robinson?
I think all they need to do is draft a quarterback, and then we'll be okay.
They might have to.
Their offensive line needs to be repaired before that. The game is you pick. There's no spread here. Who you guys got?
I got Chicago giving 1.5.
Okay. Oh, giving 1.5. So they're minus 1.5.
Yep.
I'm still taking Bears.
No.
Washington. I said Bears are giving 1.5. I'm taking the points. I'm going Washington as well.
Weirdos. Ravens versus Giants.
It's a 5.5 spread.
5.5 spread over under.
So Ravens minus 5.5.
Actually,
this one says -5. They always change throughout the week. So
they do. On CBS, I see minus 5.5 is. Oh wait. Oh my gosh.
The MGM has Giants plus 5.5.
Yep. 43.5 is the over under. We'll talk about that here shortly. Let's go to the Ravens. What are we expecting out of J.K. Dobbins this week? He had a rough week. He had a very good week when it went bad his first week returning, good because he had 2 touchdowns, back to bad. This may be J.K. Dobbins. What do you guys expect in this game?
What does that mean? This may be J.K. Dobbins.
Here's my overall
down touchdown
well,
dependent.
I don't know that I totally feel that way. Now, this isn't meant to be J.K. Dobbins hype. It's meant to be Ravens hype. Like, I think this team still wants to run the ball at its core. I think they faced a lot of injuries at the running back room. I think there's been a lot of start people up slow in the running back room. But, like, not long ago, this was the backfield that you wanted every single piece of. And I don't know that this offense is substantially different. Maybe because of Mark Andrews and some more passing attack. But I just still think this backfield has value long-term for me. So I'm not quite as that it's just an up and down backfield. I don't know that it's JK. I don't know what I think in terms of players, because JK hasn't been necessarily great, but
he hasn't been
I just think this team wants to run the ball.
I mean, it's the most shocking thing to me is just the number of touches that he's getting, like under 10 in 2 of the weeks.
Agreed.
That's not what you want to see. Maybe they're easing him back in.
That's what I wonder
Against
too.
the Giants have been sneaky good this year, and I actually think they're kind of legit. I don't necessarily think they're going to beat the Ravens legit. But next week against Cleveland, I'd start JK everywhere. Cleveland sucks.
Let's not get too ahead. The Giants' defensive line, like you said, Brian, hasn't been bad. I mean,
I just got back Thibodeau like 2 weeks ago.
yeah. So
He's helped.
if they could be easing him into this, you guys are absolutely spot on. Like with what that's saying, he hasn't ever been a part of the passing game, so that makes it a little bit tougher, and it makes it like he needs to get 15 plus touches to make a day.
Oh, also, isn't Gus Edwards expected back soon? That might muddy things up a bit because he was on the pup so that's 6 weeks, correct?
Yeah.
So he could be back like any day now. Oh, he actually has a projection this week.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Edwards.
So, well, like, I'm just trying to think. Like, if you had Ramondre, you're starting Ramondre over JK.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker, you're starting Kenneth Walker over JK.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson.
No.
Same. Okay. The wide receivers here: Bateman, Duvernay, or no one.
No
Or
one.
none.
I think it's none.
If I can avoid it.
So Bateman's just benched right now. Like, you guys are mad he's benched if he plays.
I think he's a borderline flex player.
Yeah, I think if you need to play him in flex and you're hoping for, 20
How
point
many,
week.
Brian? Oh, I thought you were gonna say 10 points.
No, because he's been like him and Duvernay have been like 50-yard touchdown, 3 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. Like,
and that's definitely this offense because that was even Hollywood.
Low volume,
Mm-hmm.
big plays. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's not very trustworthy, or at least you don't want to have to trust it.
Yeah. I probably, man, I want to get fooled by Duvernay again, and I still think I'd probably plug him in if it's him only.
He looked so good in the first quarter and then just did nothing else.
I think he's better than Bateman. I
just think he's a gadget player. I think he's a good player. That's not to say he's bad. I just think he's very gadgety. That's really
he's
not a
fast, and he gets open.
Super fast.
He's good. He's got a good route running,
and he's always got a chance at a punt return touch. I mean, those things happen.
That did happen.
Yeah, it did. So we too. Okay. Well, then flip to the Giants side. Obviously, we love our Barkley. Danny Dimes is somebody you're not starting in one QB league, but let's talk about his pass catchers. Darius Slayton looked good last week, and I've been on this. I'm gonna die here, but like, I'm surprised Darius Slayton was so buried on this depth chart.
I was too, because last year, maybe 2 years ago, he was actually pretty good. He's only 25. He's pretty young, 6'1", so he's got the height.
And he's got the juice. He's fast.
Snap percentages, not exactly what you want to see, but last week, they lost some guys, or they keep losing guys, I should say. And so he was one that last week came on, got 7 targets, caught 6 of them, had 14 points. He looked like Danny Dimes' favorite target last week.
There's definitely a real chance he just happens to be Danny Dimes' only target these days.
Also true. I mean,
Tony,
I kind of think it lends itself to the Kadarius Toney narrative. As much as I hate to even mention his name, like, dude's got the juice. Tony's got the juice.
Tony's got the juice for sure.
But will he ever play? Nobody knows.
No. I don't think you could plug Slayton into your lineups yet, but like, I honestly, if you need some wide receiver help, it's just tough, man. Like,
hold on, let me stop you. I want to go back because I started off by suggesting Slayton, and now I want to take it all away because it's like there's Wan'Dale Robinson, there's Kadarius Toney, like there is a revolving door of receivers in New York, and next thing we're gonna see is they're gonna sign Odell, and there's just gonna be another. Like, it's not worth the headache, I don't think.
But this week, though, if Wan'Dale and Tony are ruled out, what are you doing with Darius? Not the future.
I mean, I know you hate the Ravens backfield or the secondary, so
this doesn't really matter, but I just think it's funny. Slayton's still not listed as a starter on the depth chart.
Yeah, they have like Richie James and
David Sills.
Yeah, that guy.
Richie James ain't bad, but he's just very like
he was better at the start of the year than now. Yeah.
Daniel Bellinger, he's definitely not being for me. I'm not plugging him in my lineups. No, not yet. He hasn't done anything.
What do you mean? 10, 10? Well, okay, 9, 10, 7, 12. That's
better than I thought.
Gesicki, dude.
I don't even know. Oh, because he had a rushing TD last week. But like,
that's
if he didn't
better
have
than
rushing
Gesicki.
TD, yeah, well, I don't know if I would drafted Gesicki anywhere, so I
can't do anything with him. He's stuck on my team. I'm thinking about starting Donald Parham this week. No joke.
Don't.
Why didn't you go get Taysom
There
Hill?
are players that
Cody Parham had like 2 red zone looks last week.
That's
literally his only 2 targets.
Brian,
2 red zone looks.
So like I felt guilty about like having my guys this year. Like I loved me some T, I love me some Javonte, ETN, but Brian loves every Chargers player, and the one that he didn't love, Everett, and he started off hot. Faded.
Where's he at now? About to get back. Over. Parham had 40% snap share last week.
I mean, like, no if you're in the desperation of Brian's situation where he's considering starting Donald Parham over Mike Gesicki, then Daniel Bellinger becomes a nice play. He could sneak in for a 9 or 10. He's just not getting as many targets as I would hope. Hayden Hurst is available.
I don't think Hayden Hurst is available.
What league is it?
It's the League of Bods.
Oh no, I know who has it.
Tyler Conklin's available though. I was thinking about picking him up.
Have him, dude. Zach Wilson's a killer. Who are we taking in this game?
Ravens are given 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points here. I'm going Giants.
I think I'm going to go Ravens.
I think I'm going to go Ravens, but
Ravens always have close games.
They do.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I haven't seen them win by 6 yet this year, have they?
I don't know.
You guys are kind of crazy for taking this spread, I think.
Maybe I'm chasing the name. Maybe I'm just avoiding. Honestly, it's me avoiding the Giants.
I think they're going to win.
Not chasing
That's
the Ravens.
What I
avoiding
the
Giants.
Giants are 4-1. Just beat the Packers, feeling like they got a huge salami in their pants. And you guys taking the Ravens?
There is no chance that this next one. The Colts are a 2.5 point favorite.
Well, can we get there? Can we get there?
Done with the Giants.
Let's do
it. Ravens.
Well, you're just kind of like the Jags and the Colts. What is the spread, Brian?
They're giving 2.5 to the Jaguars.
Give me the Jags.
Give me the Jags all day. No Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it's Jags.
It
should be easy.
Trash.
That is. Are you reading that right?
Yeah, that's how they opened it.
Yeah, +2 for Jacksonville is what I got. Wild. Over under on this game is 42.
So far. 42. So let's make sure this works out. So Colts are going to score 10 points. So will the Jags cover the spread at 42?
Yes.
Dude, the Colts looked so bad last week.
On the Jags side, ETN seems to be slowly taking over this backfield.
He's coming. He is.
It sure seems that way. The snap shares have gone up week over week. He has looked better week over week than J-Rob. 50, it went from 37, 43, 51, 53 is his snap share percentage. You plugging him against this Colts defense? No, benching. Yeah.
I think he is one of those guys who's right at that point of like bye week. Feel like if you got Josh Jacobs, it wouldn't scare me. You know what I mean? Like he's the third running back on your team right now to me in an ideal situation.
And I kind of disagree with the whole he's coming in, he's taken over. Like it hasn't really changed all season. This is exactly the same thing. He just did more last week.
Well, I mean, I just read you his snap percentages. 37, 43, 51, 53.
You skipped 51 from week 1 though. So he started the year at 51. So he's right back
down
at where
a
he
lot
started
in that
the year.
game. They were down a lot in that game.
I'm still not buying.
J-Rob is just not looking good though. That's like the
last week was bad.
Both weeks.
Well, last week, the one I'm talking about. They played Philly the week before.
Oh, so that one's you just get a scapegoat on that one.
Kind of. I think Philly's D is legit.
Yeah, they is legit. Dude, there was all the warning red flag signs about James Robinson. I agree with what Cody just said, though. I think you keep him on your bench if you can. There is a situation, again, I mentioned it earlier in the show, where I have T. Higgins, might have to move some things around, and Travis Etienne slides into my flex. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. We'll see what happens. Christian Kirk has fallen off too, Brian. Brian's worried about this one.
I am. I'm just shaking my head. I'm very worried. I mean,
Because
I am worried, but I'm not worried. I'm more worried about the offensive as a whole than Christian Kirk.
I think if you're the Jags, you gotta revert back. Like, clearly there's a connection here to me.
Did you see that Hail Mary from T-Law last week? He threw it under 40 yards. And it was like he needed 50. It was 15 yards out of the end zone.
Are you going against the Colts? Are you starting him? You can't bench him. He started off real hot.
You fucking Kirk? I can't bench him. I am benching him. In every league I own him.
I'll say this, even in week 4, he did still have 9 targets, and I didn't do anything with him. But if you're with someone like Christian Kirk, I think to some degree you're chasing targets,
Yeah, 12, 6, 9, 9, and then he just had 3 last week. He got locked down by a secondary that Brian doesn't believe in.
Nope. You did say they're up and coming, though, so maybe I should have a little bit more belief.
Maybe. Flip over to the Colts side. Michael Pittman.
Also concerning.
Been a little rough, but a lot of this has to do, in my mind, the offensive line being awful.
Yes. This is another one that the guy doesn't worry me. This isn't an Allen Robinson situation. It's the Colts look really, really bad situation.
Yeah.
And it is mostly their offensive line.
And I'll tell you, Alec Pierce has looked good. That's a piece of this too.
I think it's because he's just like the underneath guy. And so when Matt Ryan is about to get murdered in literally 1 second every play, I think they might have the worst offensive line. Watching that game last week was like elder abuse. Just watching Matt Ryan get destroyed.
The line's bad.
And they lost another lineman last game.
I'm not going to bench Michael Pittman in this game. He's absolutely in my lineup still.
He is. I'll tell you who he is. I own them both in the same league. I mentioned it already, and I feel almost exactly the same Terry McLaurin. It feels a lot like that in terms of just the underperformance. My lack of trust is there for both of them at this moment.
I think Michael Pittman has a chance to go off for 2 TDs, where I don't think Terry Mack does.
Really?
He just doesn't catch a ton of TDs.
Does Matt Ryan throw 2 TDs in a game?
He does. He did it week 1. It's good time then.
All right. I want to give you guys a would you rather.
Is this a start or a trade or what do we got here?
Yeah, what do we got here?
Would you rather?
All right. Would you rather start Michael Pittman or Deontay Johnson?
Michael Pittman.
But it's not that far off for me.
Michael Pittman or Chris Godwin?
Michael Pittman. Ooh, this week Chris Godwin got a juicy matchup, doesn't he?
He does.
And Chris Godwin's been okay the last 2 weeks, actually. No touchdowns.
Probably
been okay.
If I had to pick between
Chris
Godwin. Yeah.
Yep.
Michael Pittman or Alan Lazard?
Woo! I gotta look at something. I wish you gave us some
Nope.
He plays the Jets.
Oh, I could tell
Pittman.
you that.
Pittman.
All right, and last one: Michael Pittman or Christian Kirk?
Pittman.
We agreed on them all, Mario.
All right, those are all my receivers in our league. So now it's good to know who I should start and who I should.
we mentioned Alec Pierce already. I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. It's hard to imagine he has a significant role for your fantasy team if Matt Ryan struggles. Deion Jackson and Nyheim Hines we talked about early in the show. Me personally, I'm not starting either of those guys if JT is out. I'm looking for other options. Brian is going Deion Jackson. Cody, are you starting either of those guys?
I'd rather not.
Going to
right
the Pats,
answer.
Pats versus Browns, another 1 p.m. game. Brian, what's the spread here in the over-under?
The spread is, I don't know yet, but Ramondre should be started in everybody's lineups.
Can we go to the spread and then we'll talk about Ramondre here in a second.
3. The Browns are giving 3. And I'm taking the Browns.
The Browns
The
are
Browns
giving
are
three?
giving 3.
Giving 3.
Yeah, give me the Browns.
No, they're -2.5, so or -3. I
Man,
still
I
with
do
the
so
Browns
much
too.
better with the minuses versus the giving.
Yeah, same. Because it
sorry.
could be
The Browns
giving
are
or
minus
given.
3 according to NBC 17 hours
Oh,
ago.
I was thinking
over-
it was okay.
Over under 43. I'm taking the Browns -3.
I think I will too.
I will take the Browns as
Um,
well.
So Brian,
Bailey's.
you want to talk about Ramondre? Go ahead and do it, dude.
I already did. Start him. He's going to score 30 points this week. The Browns defense is terrible. Just like every other year's, fire Joe Woods.
And I really don't think Damian Harris is playing. I mean,
I don't think
Ramondre is a borderline top 15 back this week.
I think he's easy top 15.
I think he's easy top 15
Probably
as well.
is,
I think
right.
he's
Me
top
and Brian are all
5.
over it, 'cause me and Brian we have a league. I know we're running low on time. We have a league where we lost Javonte Williams, didn't have an RB2. And this week we just showed up with Kenneth Walker and Ramondre just came alive on our bench.
Yeah.
We had
Back
Brian
business.
Robinson too, but we dropped him.
We had to. We talked about that one. We knew we had
We should have
to.
dropped Josh Palmer
Yes. Jacoby Myers
or
has been
Isaiah
setting the world
Pacheco.
on fire. Is he somebody that you're going to play in this matchup? And it's an easy yes.
Easy yes. And
He is
also,
my favorite kind of flex. Highly targeted.
also
Not necessarily super productive. But
I just wanted to point out
And
that
great.
Pat's super
great.
fan, Alex, does not believe in Jacoby Myers, doesn't think he's good enough. And Jacoby Myers lives for that kind of disrespect. So he's going to put up like 25 again. He's getting another
So
TD this
the
week.
over-under on this game is 43.5. And what we're saying and what we're going to continue saying, I think is way too low. I'm smashing the over here. We flip over to the Browns, and you guys can let me know if you're doing the same. Because like if we're expecting Jacoby Myers to go off, we're expecting Ramondre to go off. You can't tell me we're not expecting Chubb and Hunt to eat against this defense. And then even more so, what are we expecting about David Njoku?
he's going to keep it up. He looks great.
He does look
fabulous. I'll say fabulous. I mean, he looks like the guy we thought we got when we drafted a tight end in the first round.
Good. Yeah, and what's interesting to me also is like we had like I want to say 2 years ago, we gave Harrison Bryant a ton of looks and everything, and he's just completely disappeared now. And they paid Njoku, and I think he's the guy. I mean, they paid him a lot. And we talked about this, like, I think on our tight end preview right before the year started. He was the guy that we thought would be kind of the sneaky, could break out this year. And he's been showing it so far. I think he will keep it up too. And then Deshaun comes back.
What are we expecting rest of season? And is there a conversation to be had that we're talking about him in the top 5 next year?
Yes.
I
was going to
there's-
say, I think he finishes top 8.
I was going to say 8 too. I love it. Yeah. And I think that's like a rest of season. He's a top 8 guy. Like he's an automatic start every week to me.
Yeah.
I think maybe saying like, man, I think the way things are right now, anything outside of top 3 is just so muddy next year. So I think it's possible.
You know what's
Anything
funny?
outside of what seems like top 2.
Top 2. Yeah, you're right.
Unless Atlanta's quarterback comes alive.
It's
Yeah.
funny. He's actually tight end number 8 right now.
That's funny. Amari Cooper has been better than I, as a Browns fan, ever anticipated. Looks great. Jacoby Brissett looks great. I don't know if there's a question here for you boys. Like Amari Cooper should be in your lineup. Although I don't think they run a lot of shadow coverage, but they have, I think, Jack Jones, the number 1 cornerback in PFF rating right now, the Pats. So if he sees a lot of Amari, this could be something that we should be like,
I think Amari, slight detour, but I think Amari is a great trade candidate in terms of trade for him. There's a lot of stink on Amari Cooper. I texted you guys about a trade today. I offered up Amari Cooper and Boone for CeeDee Lamb and got an instant decline, which I know that might not seem like a crazy, but I think that's a strong offer to get an instant decline and no conversation on.
In a redraft?
Yeah.
But I don't want Mike Boone.
I think that's the problem, Cody. I think you added the stink on with Mike Boone.
You think it's
I
that
do want
bad?
Amari. I've been trying to buy Amari.
interesting.
Which is like it's
Everywhere.
pretty much saying Amari Cooper for CeeDee Lamb for a lot of people, probably.
Yeah. I guess I just think that Amari Cooper carries that same stink we talked about other players carrying. I think he can be
He
had for a
does.
very fair price.
He does.
He's
We're
almost
just trying to
got a-
help your
He's almost
trade
got a
while we're here,
Brandon
you know?
Cooks type stink.
Well, because what happens is we're going to get to week 9 and he's going to start fizzling out, limping off the field. You guys know I have some hate for him.
He's got
Not him
Deshaun Watson
personally.
coming though. I mean, that's That's encouraging.
If he can last.
We're putting Watson on for fantasy and NFL purposes, a huge pedestal. And I just, as a Browns fan, am ready to just be so hurt by the end of the season.
Okay.
I
Look
still
at
just
Russ.
don't. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's been good, but I just, even if it goes poorly, I can't really see Deshaun being a massive downgrade for this offense. Even if it goes poorly.
I've seen one QB get paid a huge guaranteed contract, and they have not looked good. One does not equal the other, but just still scary. Bengals versus Saints. Lost my place
Saints
here.
+1.
Wow.
They're getting
Bengals.
one, Cody.
I got Bengals. Easy. What's the over-under?
44.
I don't think any of these wide receivers are practicing on the Saints.
Yeah, no, they're not. I think Olave is
Concussion.
might play.
He
Michael
looked bad.
Thomas
They look bad.
doesn't look like he's going to play. And actually, I think one of the guys I added into this, we're going to skip to the Saints real quick. Are you playing Marquez Callaway this week?
No, not a chance.
No
I don't think
chance.
so.
None. None.
Not even
I'm
if you're
surprised
like,
he's even still on this team, to be honest with you.
dude, he caught a
I did
touchdown
too.
a couple weeks ago.
It's just a bad play to me. Like, just look elsewhere, please.
The classic too cute.
It
All right.
is.
All right.
You'll end up with a 2.8 on your lineup and be like,
All
damn it,
right.
I should have known better.
But then
The other guy-
here's what will happen. Here's what I promise you
Oh.
will happen. As soon as everybody's back, he'll come in and drop 2 TDs in a game.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
So the other guy that Mario finally learned about because it was his first time ever owning Alvin Kamara was Taysom Hill. As he watched him score 40 points last week.
I have never felt so connected to Brian until this last weekend.
So you mean you hate him, right?
Hey, Taysom, it just went from 0 to 100 in a matter of 1 week.
Well, would you
And
pick
this
a
is
guy
some-
up that you hate?
I did it because
Oh, I thought you did.
I did.
Oh, did? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
The reason that I hated him because I had Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
And I just watched him put up 3 TDs on it.
Yeah,
and
no,
he
I know,
just
I
kept
know.
vulturing it. Brian's had Kamara for a lot of years in our league. I think like 2 or 3 in a row. And he would text us regularly how much he hates Taysom Hill. And I don't think like I understood, but I didn't understand like
never
enough.
felt it.
I never
Yeah.
felt it. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the same for you, Cody. Like maybe
Yeah,
you
yeah.
still don't.
I don't. Yeah, I'm
Neutral,
like, whatever,
neutral
he got a couple
observers, I feel
touchdowns.
like probably are like, wow, Taysom Hill's a pretty good guy.
yeah,
But,
it's like, oh, he's
Fantasy guys were like, okay, they're on the 5-yard line. Time for Alvin Kamara to come in. Nope, it's a Taysom Hill Wildcat. And the defense is acting like they've never seen this before and they don't know what's going to happen. And then and then he scores. Like
Dude,
he's very efficient for the Saints, but it's incredibly frustrating to watch NFL defenses be like, what do we do?
Dude,
Oh, here's a 31-year-old tight end who's not that crazy fast.
he's
What are we
not
gonna
that
do?
fast.
Yeah.
He does truck some people though.
He
does.
ran for 100 yards, 118 yards on 9 carries. Like I didn't
That's your tight
understand
end,
it
by the
either.
way.
And now, like
He has
so-
1 catch on the season, Cody. And he's like tight end 5.
which doesn't necessarily give you a positional advantage. Like if you really think about it, it doesn't really give you an advantage by putting him in your tight end spot. But I still think he's interesting if he's going to get some carries and maybe they're just going to make it. I think he's going to be more involved in this offense. I really believe that.
I'd take him over Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I think he weirdly finishes in the top 12.
That's disgusting.
He's just got a big head start, though. Do you think he's top 12 like from this point forward rest of the season?
I think we'll learn a lot after this week because
I think
I
that's
know the head coach like loved everything he did that, which of course he would. He dominated.
Yeah.
It is like defenses are like, what the hell is going on? Flip to the Bengals side. Hayden Hurst, another tight end that has just been doing well. This is a guy that went early first. I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago now. Maybe 5 to 6
It's been a long time.
years.
I think he's 28. It's been a long time.
Yeah, he went first to the Baltimore Ravens. He never produced. I think he ended up on Falcons for a year.
Atlanta. Yep.
Comes back to Bengals in a hole where CJ Uzama did pretty well in. I mean, he was more touchdown dependent than Hayden Hurst. He might be a big part of this offense, the way that defenses are playing against Jamar Chase.
And I don't, obviously I stuck Hayden Hurst on here and I've picked him up someplace and been playing him and been happy with it. And I don't want to sell this as like, I think this is Hayden Hurst's coming out party, but I think Hayden Hurst is going to be top 12 this year. And at this point, like with the way the
Yeah,
tight end
we're not-
landscape has been, you can do worlds worse than Hayden Hurst.
You could do.
We have a alert.
Trade alert.
Hey, I need your guys' opinions. Stat
Oh.
A is acquiring Dawson Knox, Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines. Team B is acquiring Gerald Everett, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. Which side do you take in?
Is this redraft or dynasty?
This is redraft.
PPR.
Redraft. This is
I'm
gonna
going-
sound crazy. Go ahead.
Good. No, go ahead. I'm gonna
Well,
agree
I
with you.
just think the Colts offense is so bad. I'm going Swift.
I'm going Swift.
That's crazy. DeAndre
Why?
Swift is the
Offense is
least
so bad.
reliable running back in
You have
fantasy.
and you have the backup right there who does well.
I guess that's true. And I
like
do
DeAndre
like Gerald
Swift
Everett
is
way more
least
than Dawson
reliable
Knox.
because his health is he has concerns
Yeah.
with his
It's
health.
still going to eat you some zeros because he's going
Not
to play
zeros,
3
but
plays
I
and
can
then
see-
yeah.
That feels gross, even that we just had that.
Like in
conversation
Dynasty,
about
I think
Gonzalez
DeAndre
like
Swift
that.
is like the most overrated player in the world.
maybe for dynasty, but like talk about this in redraft. Like DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams may be able to be both played while JT and Naeem Hines cannot.
Don't even say both played. I just think you locked in a top 12 running back.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
so don't
there's
even
an
worry about
option
playing
there.
both. You just know you have a top 12
I
running
think Taylor
back.
will be a top
And
12
and
running
the
back.
let's not forget he also got a nice tight end out of this. Like Dawson Knox has been bad. Gerald Everett has been pretty good besides last week. 14.4, 13.1, 4.5, 17.1, 1.2. Like Everett's been a pretty decent tight
Because
end this
Parham
season.
was back.
It's not 'cause of Parham.
All
People
right,
do
so
think like Keenan Allen's going to take away. So Tyler Boyd becomes an interesting play. Are you guys, if Higgins is out, are you plugging him in the lineups?
yes,
I think he's a flex. I'm not going to sell
I'd play
any
him
more than
over
that.
Marquez Callaway.
Easy. Yeah. All right, cool. Because I would
That's
too.
about it.
I don't
Tyler
think he's
Boyd
more
has
than a-
shown
I
he
don't
can
think he's
do
more
it.
than a
in the
flex, though. I
past.
don't want to like go crazy with it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I think he might be like one of those plays though. Like really, if Higgins goes out and I mean, again, I have ETN on my bench. I think should consider switching to Boyd.
ETN versus Boyd in your flex, you're saying?
Yeah, like
If
picking up
Higgins is
Boyd.
out, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's Boyd. I agree.
Yeah, Mario likes Boyd's.
Bucks versus Steelers. What's the spread here, Brian?
The spread here, the Steelers are plus 8.5. 42.5 is the over-under.
Oh shit, that's kind of low for the Bucks. Gonna
That
put
is
it on
kinda
them,
low.
The Bucks just haven't.
dude. I'm still taking the Bucks. The way the
Yeah,
Steelers
Chris
looked
Godwin
last
back.
week,
I agree. Chris Godwin
I'm-
back and good. I agree.
Julio might be back. Like if he does
Fournette's
something,
been a little better last couple weeks. Like this offense it's coming.
And they have a strong defensive line.
Yeah, so I'll give up 8.5 here to take the Bucks.
Yeah,
let's talk
Strong
about the
defensive
Bucks.
line against a bad offensive line.
Terrible.
So, yeah, I'm
offensive
going
line, yeah.
Bucks as well.
That's the game decider, dude. I've been more and more convinced by it. Rashad White, I think we can all agree he should not be in your lineups, but like he's definitely a player that will be like Kenneth Walker III or will be like Ramondre if something were to happen to Lenny.
And something always happens to Lenny.
He should be 100% owned, but not started. Cody's like smiling because he like this is
Because you know my
huge
feelings.
conversation. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
so you wouldn't play
nothing's
him if
changed.
like something happened to Lenny.
Yes, and like as a handcuff, but I don't know. I just don't seem to own handcuffs as much anymore. Maybe
He's
I'm
got-
having a philosophical.
But I think
change
he's
on
more
that.
than a handcuff. He's got 8 and 9 touches the last 2 weeks. I mean, I know that's not like world breaking
Regardless,
numbers,
you can't
but
play
like,
him unless Lenny's out.
No,
so he's still a handcuff.
I mean, yes, at the moment, but it might get to a point where he just keeps getting more and more touches.
There's
he's
gotta
also
be
been very bad. That's
there's also
to
there's
note.
got to
But
be
so is Lenny.
certain
not this
certain
bad.
handcuffs that
true.
you're gonna want. Like Rashad White would come into a role where Lenny is getting targeted like 7 or 8 times a game.
Mhm.
Hold on, I just said Lenny's been bad, and he had 36 last week. Never mind, I'll see myself out.
No, Lenny's like I think RB6 or something like that.
Yeah, but the week before, he had 3 carries for -3 yards,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Mario hit the panic button, and
and he
we're
still
both
had
like-
18 points.
Well, we were both like, I mean, he's
I
like
still am hitting
11,
panic
and you're,
button. He's poopy.
it's been absolutely fine.
He's not poopy.
Fantasy, he's been great.
Yes.
poopy.
no, he's been far better than Rashad White, like efficiency wise. Far
Has he?
better. Far better.
Has he?
Yes, worlds better.
For like rushing?
Hold up.
His games are 6 yards per carry, then 2.7, then 2.9, then -1, then 4.
Rashad was averaging 2.2 yards per carry on the season.
Okay. Lenny gets carried by his week 1 performance. Anyways, Chris Godwin, we're absolutely smashing the start on Godwin this week, huh?
Big smash.
He's made a quiet return. Like, I feel like we haven't even talked about him, and I feel like nobody's talked about him, but he's been fine. I'm not
And
gonna say
dynasty
good,
owners, this is someone you want to go buy. He's 27 years old, only 27.
And he was selling T-Mac at 27 a minute ago.
I was, but also Chris Godwin has a much better quarterback and a much better team.
So
and he's a better player.
I have so many indifferences to what you just said. Tom Brady will probably be gone next
year. Hold
on.
The biggest point of this that I was going to make is that Chris Godwin is just severely undervalued. Like, if you offered Chris Godwin for Terry McLaurin.
Well, so what do you think the price is in Dynasty? Let's do that. This is a better way to do it.
Well, like, I don't know, because I think people value it differently, but it's real low for me. Like, Tom Brady's not going to be there next year. This guy deals with injuries every single year of his career.
He does deal with a lot of injuries.
Like, why are you buying this guy who's not going to have a quarterback next season?
I mean, you'd give a second rounder for him, though.
I would definitely give a second rounder.
Because I would play for this year. If I'm playing for this year, I'd probably give up a first rounder. If I'm playing,
then go do it.
Absolutely for this year. I don't have any more first rounds.
Sounds like
I wish I didn't have mine. Nobody will take them.
Yeah, I'll take it.
No, because you won't trade Herbert.
You haven't offered me anything.
Yeah, because you won't trade Herbert.
I won't. Of course not.
I've chased every top 8 quarterback except for Herbert.
And the Steelers are allowing, I think, the most top 12, top 24 wide receiver games to opposing wide receivers. So Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. The only problem that you may have with these players is that this game gets out of control too fast and they end up having very mediocre days. Let's go to the Steelers. Brian has Deontay Johnson highlighted, and I am so sick of hearing
I was trying to strike it out because we've talked about him too much.
Thank God, because you have talked about him like 8 times today. George Pickens and Kenny Pickett, the pick to pick, have quite a connection. Is Pickens sliding into people's lineups?
Nobody's getting very close.
I'm going to say no as well, but he's one of my absolute favorite dynasty receivers right now.
Dude has had 17.2 and 14.3 over the last 2 weeks, which are both the Pickett weeks. He has 8 targets in both weeks, 6 receptions in both weeks, 180 yards total. No TDs yet. I think he's a start, especially in a game that they're probably going to be down. Definitely going to be.
He might be. I could be wrong. You know, I sit there and say, like, I love the guy and then don't start him, but I think
I would start him over Boyd.
Right.
I would agree. ETN for sure. ETN easy. Boyd is.
It just seems like him and Pickett have a really good connection right now, man. And like,
it's been 2 games. That's my hesitation. He's a rookie. We'll see.
All right. 49ers versus the Falcons starts at 1 p.m. Excuse me. What's the spread here, Brian?
Falcons +6. Over under 42.5 somehow.
49ers, and I think I'm taking the over.
Over?
What was it?
42.5.
Atlanta has a lot of high scoring games with people.
I'm taking the under, but I'm also going the 49ers.
Brian has like 3 guys that I'm just sick of hearing him talk about.
I hate talking about Ayuk, but we've talked about him a lot, but we haven't talked about him on here.
I think after this week, and I'm going to say this to about both of these guys, I think the 49ers are going to start having some competition where Ayuk and Kittle get much more involved. And Kittle looked fine last week.
I feel it more for Kittle than Ayuk, but I agree with you.
My thought with Ayuk is just like, if Debo's here, what's the point of Ayuk? He's basically Debo light. And so, like, if Debo's out, he'll be great.
He's your classic wide receiver 2 on a not that powerful of an offense. Yeah. They're just not useful.
Well, and I just want to, I'm saying keep him on your bench still. They have been blowing out teams, I think, the past 2 weeks, past 3 weeks. Like, they have a tougher schedule coming up, or a better schedule coming up after the Falcons. I do think if the Falcons can stay in this game, I think this is a big Kittle game. The Falcons allow the most top 12 tight end games. I want to say it's either most or second most to tight ends. So like, if they can stay in the game, I think Kittle can have a nice one here. Besides, if you drafted George Kittle, you're not benching him yet.
No,
There's absolutely no.
I mean, and he hasn't done anything to warrant you benching him for a Mike Gesicki.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Even the guys that we're talking about, like they should be, they should be started. Whether it be, I don't know, Everett or Hayden Hurst. I keep hyping Hayden Hurst. Like, you're still starting George Kittle over those guys.
Hey, speaking of bad tight ends, would you rather have Kittle or Kyle Pitts this week?
Give me George Kittle, dude.
Give me Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts is again, like,
I tell you why. Let me give
you
you why. I want to tell you my thought process.
Because I don't know if we could predict this game for Kyle Pitts. I really don't.
Yeah,
but I don't think
this
you're
is in general. Like, I don't necessarily feel I like your call for Kittle having a better week this week. I actually do. I'm struggling mightily in that league. That league has just always been my nemesis, I feel like. But I'm struggling there, and I can't afford another Kittle injury, and I know it's coming at some point. And so I just take the guy that I think is probably going to be healthier. I know he's banged up, but I just think Kyle Pitts has a better chance of playing more games yet this year, and that's purely the reason.
So I have Taysom Hill on my bench. I figured, get him there in case Kittle goes down.
Start your running back in your tight end position.
That's a good point, Cody. And like in this game, you drafted Kyle Pitts, third tight end overall, maybe fourth.
You took him in the third round. I mean, like, the draft capital is massive.
You have to hold off a little bit longer, and hopefully that we get Desmond Ridder soon. And I'm serious, dude. I really hope that we do. I think they're going to see what they want. They're going to want to see.
I think if you are in a keeper league, this might be your last chance to pick up Ridder.
Oh, you're going to say Ridder. I think I say Pitts, and I'll say Pitts is still too expensive.
No. Ridder. Like, if you think about Justin Herbert back a couple years ago, I mean, I think Ridder was he the second quarterback taken after Pickett?
Third.
I feel like
third.
I feel like he wasn't.
Malik Willis, maybe.
Malik was second. Yeah, they're both winning third round.
But yeah, pick him up, hold on to him a couple weeks. If he balls out, you hold on to him.
I have such Desmond Ridder love, dude. I think he looks good. I thought his tape looks good, but he played for Cincinnati, and like, statistically, it is not good for quarterbacks that are coming. I think it's like the AAC is Cincinnati. It's so low. ACC.
So
AAC.
We have another alert. Chase's baby mama has
kind of old.
Is this kind of? I mean, it's from today, but I just saw it because Rob just sent it.
Yeah.
But she's demanding the NFL take action against him because he abuses her and threatens her and calls their baby names and stuff like that.
Did you read? Wait, is this actually, like, this was in the article? Because I didn't read the article.
Yeah.
But from what I read, she's telling him to get out. Like, he sicked his mom on her to beat her up is all I heard.
Okay, it says, here's the quote. Get this abuser Jamar out of the league. I'm tired of this abuser and deadbeat abusing and threatening me. Calling your own child a B and having your mom threatening to come over to my house. You cannot call yourself a man. You are, in fact, a horrible person. I don't necessarily think this is going to gain any traction.
I don't either.
But Rob needs to share that with us. So I thought I would share it. It's breaking news.
Breaking news.
Only 9 hours late.
Jets versus Packers. What's the spread here, Brian?
It's a great question.
I'm going to go with -6.
Mario, you got a guess?
I think this is closer than Cody just said.
Packers are giving 7.5.
Wow.
Yeah. I might take the Jets.
I think I'm going to take the
Jets too.
Yeah.
Are we
full
all
sweep
in
for
on
the Jets?
Jets?
What's over under? Is this guy? This might be
45.
It's one of the higher ones that we had on the episode today. I think. I don't think it hits there though. I think the Packers defense is too good.
I don't think the Packers have really put up that many points this year.
No.
Yeah, and like if they could contain the Jets, then I think the under is a play here. Brian's first note here is the Zach Wilson effect. Tell me more, Brian.
I forget why I wrote that. Oh,
well, I can tell you
of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson has basically Sorry, what did you say, Cody?
And Corey Davis. He's destroyed both.
Corey Davis is 1 out of 2. But Garrett Wilson is 2 for 2 on poopy weeks with Zach Wilson returning to the lineup.
Poopy weeks.
The running backs are still performing very well, so I'm still trusting those guys. But I mean, Elijah Moore's like non-existent.
Yeah.
Talk about D-Road hype
Wilson,
train.
Dude, Zach Wilson can't. There's no way Zach Wilson can keep 2 wide receivers relevant, let alone 3. Like,
very true.
Something's got to give here.
No,
I'm
it's
not
funny.
starting any of them, but I don't.
Do you
own
think
any
he
of
goes
them.
for Giselle? I think he might.
That's the conversation we need to have.
Yeah.
You know
Would
what's
you
funny?
start any of these wide receivers, either of you? Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, or Corey Davis
No.
against the Packers defense?
Is it gross that I'm like Corey Davis is the one I would most want to start out of the 3?
Okay, let's keep. I know this is kind of like a broken record, but we go back to Tyler Boyd. We go back to there was another player that came up. We go back to ETN. You take Corey Davis over any of those guys?
No.
Probably not.
I don't either. And
I
Boyd's on the way now.
started Corey Davis in a league last week. So I mean, I'm willing to go there with Corey Davis. This isn't Corey Davis hate. I'm just not like Zach Wilson's bad.
And like if you
Joe Flacco should be starting.
Or I don't want to confess my Mike White love, but Joe Flacco did a lot more for this offense. It's only a matter of time. The problem is they're winning. They won last week.
Yeah. They're running.
That's going to keep Zach Wilson in.
Brees Hall's
It
keeping
is.
him in it. Yeah.
Carter too.
Carter's
He's
Carter's no
good.
slouch.
He's coming around.
He isn't. He
He had a rough
might
start. He had
stay
such a rough
relevant.
year that it was.
I disagree. He had a great week 1.
Okay.
Everybody was rushing to pick him up
2
week
through
1.
4.
Yeah, maybe like.
Look,
2.
I'm going to say this now. Is there a situation where we look at this backfield as a light version of Chubb and Hunt? I think next year. I think there is.
Maybe. Brees has been
Carter's
better
already
than I
better than
expected, just 'cause
Hunt,
I feel like the
isn't he?
offense is so bad.
You think Carter's better than Hunt, Brian?
I think
I
he's
don't
getting more work, consistent work. I should
Touch wise,
say. Yes,
but that might change a little bit more.
it might. They're they're both very young.
They are. They both are. Rookie in a second year. Flip over to the Packers. Alan Lazard has looked pretty solid, dude.
Yep.
I'm absolutely playing him if I have him. I think I have him in a flex.
Yeah, but
in
you
one of my
won't
leagues.
trade him to me or trade him from me.
So let me ask you this. So preseason, obviously, we were a group that was pretty high on Alan Lazard. But I think we still had him. I mean, a couple might have had him as wide receiver 2, but most had him as a wide receiver 3. He fell off the face of the earth. Where do you think he stands right now?
He's like 40. He's 30. I think he's 30 to 40, like overall.
Oh no. I'm sorry. Where would you put him? Kind of like.
Oh no, wide receiver 2.
You
I
think
think
it's
this
2?
is
That's kind of what I was
low.
getting at.
I think this isn't even fair. Like the dude started off the year.
I'm not trying to beat up. This isn't trying to beat up. Though.
I'm just saying, like his wide receiver 33 isn't very indicative of his season. He missed week 1, week 2, assuming he was playing.
There was a week he was in and out a ton. I don't
Probably
know
week
which
2
it
because he had 3 targets. The last 3 weeks, 6, 8, 8. It's been 14.5, 18.6, 13.5. My ranking for him preseason was wide receiver 14. Do I feel like I've lost that yet? No. Would I put him there again? I'd probably be closer to 19.
And he's probably still for me. And like I've bought quite a bit of Lazard, so this isn't Lazard hate. He's probably right there at the tail end of wide receiver 2 still for me.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad play. I mean,
He's
hardly a
looked
bad
really
thing.
good the last 3
I'd rather
weeks,
flex
and,
him if I have the option. Like he feels like a great flex.
It sure does seem that way. And like Christian Watson, I think, is dealing with another injury. And something that I had a conversation with Norton last night is like when teams are like, we're gonna manufacture touches for players, is that like code for they can't get open on their own? So here's 3 touches a game.
100%.
Like it's the Christian Watson, the Rondale Moore.
You should not
like,
have to force it. Yeah.
The Curtis
Yeah.
Samuels.
well, he gets open. Curtis Samuel open all day.
Oh, okay.
That's a great question, Albert. I'm glad you asked because that is who we're talking about next. Brian, what are we doing with AJ Dillon?
Benching him until further notice, until it gets cold and they need him.
So on Twitter, and I'm going to ask you this next, Cody. There was it was an AJ Dillon off recently. One person started with sell AJ low if you can. The other person said hold AJ Dillon or buy AJ Dillon if you can. The last person said hold AJ Dillon if you can.
Option 3.
Buying. you buying or holding, Cody?
I froze. I'm sorry.
Dude, he was like his froze was blinking. It was like this.
So you guys were frozen on my screen. So I didn't even. I know the gist of what the question is, but option 3 is my answer.
So are you buying or holding?
Holding.
Okay.
Not buying. Holding.
I'm also
I don't think the sell price is good enough, and I don't think the buy price. I don't think I'm necessarily interested in AJ Dillon. So I can't sell him for what I want to get, and I don't necessarily want him. So I think he's going to end up being on my bench if I own AJ Dillon.
I think the Packers start slow every year, and they're only going to get better. And as they get better and the weather gets colder, they're going to lean more on AJ Dillon to pound down teams. And I think he's only going to get better as the year goes on. He's been very disappointing so far. He's been very disappointing so far.
How cheap do you think you can buy him? Maybe I want to buy 2, but I just don't know if
that's the real thing. See, now, like in our one league with Dale, I feel like you could get him super cheap. And I hate that I just mentioned that to you because I'm trying to get him super cheap from Dale. Dale just doesn't respond. He's still getting good amounts of touches. Like last week
he's got more carries than Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
on the season.
He gets more carries, but Aaron Jones does all his work on the little swing routes and screens, and then like basically houses them or takes them 40 yards.
I know I'm interrupting you, but total touches, Aaron Jones is 75, AJ Dillon is 72.
Yeah. And I think I had these guys really close in our preseason rankings, and this is pretty much exactly as I expected it. Dillon's just not getting the touchdowns, and that's pretty much it. I mean, if he had 2 more touchdowns, he's been fine, but
he hasn't been on it. I mean, and this is like, I really don't hate AJ. I feel like I'm always doing this just because I like Aaron Jones, so it feels like I hate AJ Dillon. That's really not it. AJ Dillon hasn't been very good, so I don't think it's just touchdowns.
I think this is like I have noticed this trend in the NFL for a while. Guys like AJ Dillon, guys like Derrick Henry, guys like JT, where they're very power strong runners. Mm-hmm. It always seems they start getting going like late in October.
Just late. I even think sometimes it's later in their career, weirdly.
AJ Dillon last year, he started pounding the rock towards the end of the second half. Like that's where he did a lot of his damage. He also started getting more carries at that time. So maybe this is a very similar setup to what they're going to do again this year. And if so,
I think right about the time that Aaron Jones gets a soft tissue injury.
Let's do a dive on what I mentioned there sometime. I actually think it'd be fun because I try to think through other guys like Mark Ingram's another bruiser who I feel like his second half of his career was much better than his first half.
It was.
And I'll say the middle, maybe. I'll say the middle because his career is he's like 33 in some leagues.
So anyway, I mean the middle. To answer this question, Cody's holding.
Benched.
I'd buy.
But
Mario's buying.
You need a bench, but
yes. And benched.
I am benching him for sure. Although his next 2 games, like he's gone through 3 really tough run defenses the last 3 weeks.
Aaron Jones doesn't think so.
Well, Aaron Jones doesn't do his work running the ball.
Yeah, he does. You're looking at that all wrong.
Whatever. Then they swing it out to him or give him toss plays. They get him outside. That's the difference.
Aaron Jones, that may be true, but Aaron Jones has 14 catches.
Aaron Jones is a stud. I'm not discounting that.
But they play the discounting Aaron Jones, Cody's love and savior.
They play the Jets, 4 yards per carry.
They play the Jets and Washington, 2 easy matchups. Then they have Buffalo, which is going to be tough. Mm-hmm. Then Detroit, easy again, and then Dallas, Tennessee, Philly, who are
Dallas is tough.
Philly, I think, is the toughest one.
Middle, I think. Yeah, that's a fairly tough stretch, actually.
Yeah,
boys,
I don't love it.
Wraps it up for us.
Either of them. Yeah.
Did you have a last thought on that, Cody?
Nope. I was just saying I really don't love that upcoming schedule. The more I kind of like thought through it.
So AJ Dillon season?
Maybe like second half, not like middle second half.
The quad father.
The third. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
If you're not already following us at Twitter at DadBodFS, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, DadBod Fantasy Squad. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We'll be posting the recording for each episode.
Can't I do this?
You got it, dude.
I can't. Wait.
You got it. Oh, hold it up. Brian's just pointing. He's got this. For myself, for Mudcat Cody, for Brian. Peace.